Yes. Okay. Should I start? All right. Awesome. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, that was really awesome talk right before. It's rare that I see things that feel like crypto is bleeding into the real world and can really make a difference. So that was really cool. I think in some ways it leads into a little bit what I'm going to talk about today. It's not going to be very technical. I'm not really shilling today, even though I am co-founder and CEO of Tally, a tool really dedicated to making DAOs work. So that's pretty much the most shilling I'm going to do in this talk. But instead, I'm going to talk about what I call magic internet society. And it's a little bit of a recap of how we got to where we are today, and hopefully sort of is a little bit inspiring to thinking about how we get to where we're going, or where we may be going, or why or how. So the starting is, how did we get here, right? We're in Lisbon, we all flew here, but on a bigger sense of like, how did we get here in crypto? Like we are, we believe in Ethereum, people are building Vita DAO. How did we get here? And first thing is, we needed magic internet money. So if you remember back into 2007, before the Satoshi white paper, magic internet money, there were people trying magic internet money, but it was literally that. It was magic internet money. Some of it was like outright money laundering, if you remember like the digital gold guys that eventually, I think they went to jail. It was really a crazy idea. Magic internet money was not something that was real. And this is like a real sticking point. How did we make magic internet money to be a real thing? And what was so important about magic internet money is that in 2007, money is the only human concept that cannot be natively transmitted over the internet. Right? And maybe that seems obvious or maybe it seems opaque, but I can send you an email and say, hey, I love you, and you feel loved, right? But if I send you an email and say, hey, here's $1, nothing happens, right? And that's really, really foundational, because that means machines, for example, cannot natively transact with one another because they don't have access to the concept of money. And in Bitcoin terms, it's really denominated in like the price of electricity, right? So that was something that machines lacked, and that's something that we as humans lacked. So 2008 comes along, of course, we have the Bitcoin white paper. And it builds upon a lot of ideas, hashcash, things like that, where like, hey, how can we formalize the concept of money in a way that is native to machines, it is native to the internet? How can I email you $1? How can I charge you $1 to send an email? And this Medium post in 2017, pretty far after Bitcoin came out, really summarizes, I really encourage you to go read this. I think it has like 60,000 claps, something crazy. This really summarizes the sort of weird nature of Bitcoin, right? You don't understand Bitcoin because you think money is real. And something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis is there are things in our lives which are just concepts, but we accept them as real things. And we can build off them because we accept them as real things. Bitcoin was magic internet money, right? And it took us years to make Bitcoin a real thing. Many years. Right? For so long, we were ridiculed for being in crypto, for trying to build this thing, for sending magic internet money around. Like, why would anyone pay 10,000 Bitcoin for a pizza, right? Today, of course, Bitcoin is real, right? We all know that. Ethereum's real. Many of these things are real. Today, you can go and fork Ethereum and make Tron, and you may hate it, but it's a real thing. Right? You no longer today need to make the idea of magic internet money real in someone's mind in order to make it. You can simply make it, people assume it's real to some degree. And in some ways, it doesn't really matter if it's a decent project or a decent idea. People even speculate on the value of it being real. In 2008, the risk-reward ratio of like Bitcoin being real was really not in Bitcoin's favor. Today, if you fork and say, oh, I'm going to make Tron 2.0, You know that would be on CoinMarketCap by later in the evening, right? Just that idea, magic and internet money is real. But this is not a Bitcoin talk. So this is the kind of idea here, right? Building the future is a process of transforming outlandish ideas into concrete primitives that become real. And you see this happening today in NFTs, right? What stupider idea could you possibly think of than paying for JPEGs? Right? You can right-click and download that. Today we're all like, oh yeah, if you check out my JPEGs, right? But that is the dumbest idea I have ever heard of, right? But people worked long and hard to make that stupidity real. And I say stupidity lovingly, because it is stupid, but I have so many NFTs. Like, when I first heard of NFTs, I was like, oh, I am so in. I love it, right? But we've made that real to the point that Twitter is like, oh, you know what, we got to authenticate these people's JPEGs, right? Like, you can't just use any JPEG for your profile picture, right? You got to own that JPEG. Sometimes these outlandish ideas, what we need to do is we make them real. And then what happens? The world shows up and builds on it, right? So, once we had magic internet money, we could build magic internet banks, right? If you had said to someone in 2007, hey, I am going to make this magic internet bank, and you're going to put magic internet money in to borrow magic internet money out, and if your magic internet money ever goes below a certain magic internet value, I'm going to liquidate you and keep all your magic internet money. So stupid, right? That's so stupid. Imagine playing Monopoly, and like your parents just like, yeah, so I'm going to mint this, and you're going to get die out, and it's going to be fantastic, right? But once magic internet money was real as a concept, you could build the next crazier thing, which is magic internet banks. You couldn't build magic internet banks before you made magic internet money real in people's minds, right? Because using DAI and say, hey, DAI is worth $1 is not so crazy once you just paid $400 for a Bitcoin, right? Once we had magic internet banks, we could build magic internet finance, right? And that's DeFi. And this seems kind of a funny play on words, magic internet money to make magic internet banks to build magic internet finance. But this is a really important concept about all the things that we're building, right? You can't build a magic internet financial system before you have magic internet banks. And again, in 2007, if you said, hey, we're going to build this global network of all these companies with billions of fake money in their treasuries, you would have just... It's too absurd. Of course, it all seems real to everyone here because I'm sure everyone here participates in it, right? You all participate in a crazy idea built on another crazy idea built on another crazy idea, right? So that kind of gets to where we are today. And this will probably be a shorter presentation, so I'm not going to really bore you. Once we had magic internet finance, we needed magic internet organizations to run it. Now, that's not a perfect one-to-one comparison, right? We were using magic internet organizations to do other things, but we really needed magic internet organizations to run our magic internet financial system, right? Because who runs it? It's magic. It's not real, right? So you need this not real concept to run this not real concept built upon a not real concept. But the point is, we keep taking a progressively crazy idea, we make it a concrete primitive, and suddenly our society can build upon it as if it were real. And this isn't so crazy, right? If you think about paper money, that's a pretty ballsy move for the government to be like, hey, I wrote it down. You know, if you've ever seen the New York City has a museum of early New York City stuff, and one of the early currencies of New York City was a stack of paper, and they would write on it that said, oh, the city owes you, a shilling or whatever they were using back then, and they would tear it off in a really funky way. And the way you would redeem it, you could go around New York City paying for haircuts or salted pork or whatever it was that you bought back then, right? And you could take it back to the city, and they would find the other half of that slip, and fit it together, and if it fit it together, oh, that was money, right? That's ballsy. That is some dumb stuff, right? But it was real. It became real, and people built on it, right? So if you look at where we are today, the vast amount of our real money is not real. It's just zeros in somebody's database table, right? We never actually hold it. All these crazy things are crazy ideas that we incrementally made real to the point that today people take them as real automatically, right? People, in the early days of Bitcoin, people would be like, I just want dollars. And you're like, you're getting fucked, right? But that was how they saw things. So, actually, I am doing a little shilling. This is Tally. We sort of support DAOs. I slipped that in there. So let's recap, right? First, we have magic internet money, Bitcoin. We have magic internet banks, MakerDAO. There's other people there, right? This is sort of like a summary to get you where I'm going. We have magical internet financial systems, and then magic internet organizations. And actually, these last three are kind of bundled, right? Maker, in a way, you could say, kind of did all these ideas. DAOs got kind of derailed with the DAO, right? DeFi really couldn't happen until you could, lend and buy and leverage yourself naturally, right? So that's where we are. We are in the phase right now of making magic internet organizations real. I first personally really got into DAOs in 2017. I was part of a group called Crypto NYC in New York, and a lot of projects doing their ICO thing would come in and they'd roadshow us and be like, we're going to do this DAO. Aragon was there. Big props if they're in the room. But it was too early, in my opinion, right? I was just like, that's too crazy. At the time, Maker came in, they were like, we're going to have this bank, and it's going to be virtual, and then maybe somebody will have some gold in Singapore, and then if you go bust, you can go to Singapore and ask for your gold. I was like, that's stupid. Never going to work. But look where we are today, right? Not only does it work, but so many other things have been built upon this craziness, right? So the sort of point of, and the real question that I think lingers over what we are building with DAOs is what comes next. The idea that we can build this permissionless organization that allows the opportunity around the world to participate in something equally and fairly is, in its core, a crazy idea. Something that I like to talk about a lot is how we don't know, there's this phrase fish don't know that they're wet, right? When you open a company in the United States and in many countries, you have to ask the government nicely for permission to hire someone, right? You can't just hire somebody. You can't say, hey, you're nice. You have to do an employment eligibility check on them, which is effectively the government saying, hey, we decide who you hire. We think that's normal, right? That's something that's normal. We do that all the time. But there's a great phrase, talent is evenly distributed, but opportunity is not. This is what's preventing opportunity from being evenly distributed, right? Because the state, other organizations have a say on who can participate in what. I think you sort of feel the same thing with this, accredited investor status, right? There was someone on Twitter the other day, it's something really funny. The first line was the state. We're here to protect investors. We don't want them to lose their money. Also the state. Mega millions. Spend all your money, right? And this is a core thing, right? Because we don't notice that, but that is a drastic amount of inefficiency. At Tally, when we started hiring and we went to hire employees outside of the United States, we got approached by a lot of PEO firms, companies that service companies inside the United States where they say, hey, we'll go hire folks for you in Argentina, we'll go hire folks for you in Dominican Republic, and what we'll do is we'll only charge you 18% of their salary, and what's even better, and they actually said this to us, is you have no responsibility to these people. You can fire them at will. You don't have to give them any stock. You don't have to worry about their health insurance. You can get rid of them whenever you want, and we work with the best VCs in the world. Right? That's the selling point, right? And what are these people doing with us, right? Our team members. I have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to have to wrap this up, right? They are bringing knowledge to our company, right? They're bringing knowledge to our team, right? And it's a new form of exploitation of saying, hey, we are going to build these organizations that work on top of this state-sponsored exclusionary opportunity structure, and we are going to extract value out of people in other places because, well, they don't have a better opportunity. DAOs, magic internet organizations, address this inequality and opportunity. And that idea is crazy, right? But we can make it real. And we're making it real, right? When you look at things like VitaDAO, they're using NFTs to own IP so people can live forever, right? Like, truthfully, that is an insane collection of insane ideas. But it's real because they make it real. So, because I'm running out of time here, the real point of this is, where are we going? I think it is magic internet society. In 2007, if you said, in the future, we will use math to run how we live and distribute opportunity and talent and resources on this planet, it would have seemed like sci-fi. But we are not so far from that moment. We need still to make DAOs real. They're real to us, but are they real to the people outside? And slowly they're becoming real. They're becoming real through buying NFTs, where they join a crazy organization that's all about drunk high apes that sail in yachts, right? Like, sounds crazy, but it's not anymore, right? So what I want to leave you at with is, the future is magic internet society, where we make it possible to build a better world using the technologies that we built on. And how we do it is we break down the crazy with little incremental crazy steps. And as we make them real, more people will show up and build cooler, crazier ideas on top of them. And we'll get there, maybe not all in one step, but we'll get there. And this is the journey that I think we're on, and the journey that I certainly believe in. So I think I'm out of time. That's that. Oh yeah, you can also join our Discord, and we're hiring. Oop, hello.
Dennison, thank you so much for your presentation. We still have 2 more minutes. If you want to take any questions from the audience, I'll run around with the microphone.
Looks like you find people. You have any questions really quick? Handsome man in the back with a beard.
My question is more like, will these two society and nature, like, will live in parallel for how long, and if one will be like, if our internet magic society will take over the other one, and the other one will stop making sense at some point, and the same goes for the organizations, for the banks, and for the finance, and all the roadmap that you built up until this conclusion. That's my question.
I would say that nothing that humans have ever created has ever really gone away, right? We have cars, but they're still horses. We have paper. We have digital money, but there's still paper money. We have paper money, but there's still gold, right? I don't think these things will ever go away, but certainly if you're building in a growth industry, you're not doing horses and carriages, right?
Is this a society fork?
I think it's a society evolution, right? The fact that, there's an interesting problem with blockchains when you're building a blockchain, that you have a fundamental limit of the speed of light and how fast you can do consensus, because your information on one side of the planet has to actually get around to the other side of the planet, right? A lot of the problems of human society, in my opinion, are kind of information asymmetry, right? There's that idea that the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. So in many ways, I think what we are doing is making the transmission of information, of messages between humans faster, and that's sort of like a natural evolutionary process, right? The idea that these PEO firms exist to do some sort of new form of like sugarcane sharecropping in the new intellectual new world, right? It's incredibly offensive. It's been around for a long time. It's just sort of like switched modalities, right? But it's incredibly offensive. But with tools like crypto, with tools like DAOs, with the things that we're building, that information sort of obliterates that idea. The Juneteenth, the African American holiday, is a celebration of when the slaves in Texas, who were already free, found out they were free, right? So they were slaves not by law, but because they didn't know they were free. Right? So a lot of the things that we're building it's kind of this information speed of how quickly we can make this idea real in your head. Right? The day that you know that you can participate in an organization fairly as a true member, to have fair upside, to be able to contribute, is the day that you stop going to work. I mean, so many people that we meet, it's even like crypto Twitter. If you read it, it's just like, hey guys, congratulations to me today. I quit my job. I'm going full-time JPEGs, right? Sounds crazy, but once they found out, oh, by the way, the thing that you loved all your life, drawing in your sketchbook, actually you can make a living at that. You don't have to go suck your life out for something else. That's that kind of information asymmetry, right? Where suddenly, once it's real, it's real.
And congrats on your talk. I loved it.
Thank you.